This is Roger Simon.
And Lionel Chetwynd.
Welcome back to Poliwood. Lionel and I just rode in on our camels down Fifth Avenue, hot, hot, hot. But more of the Dictator in a moment. First, Lionel is going to tell us a little bit about morality in television, such as it is. And then we're going to hear from, of course, Matt Atchity at Rotten Tomatoes. But go on ahead with morality in television.
Well, as the traffic in my neighborhood was destroyed by George Clooney hosting The President, I was struck to ask myself, who are these people that they get such high visibility when they pay court to politicians? I mean, who are they? These are the people who they're rich, but consistently tell us, we're really not like you. We're better than you. We live in a different world. We're above things like national identity, religious affiliation. That's for ordinary people, for civilians. But we're very special. And I wondered how that translates into a life that people put up with. And I was looking, it struck me, there's a very good definition of how they see themselves, and it's in a Woody Allen film called Bullets Over Broadway, which is the most succinct statement of what they believe and who they believe they are. And here it is.
You're racked with guilt.
I'm racked with guilt.
You're racked with guilt.
I don't know what
You are racked with guilt.
I can't sleep.
Guilt is petty bourgeois crap. An artist creates his own moral universe.
I know that. I know.
Well, what is the problem then?
Well, the artist creates his own moral universe, which I suppose that means that I'm in this moral universe until today when I come into the United States, that I'm in your moral universe and telling you how to vote. But the thing is, this has consequences. It has consequences in terms of behavior and the image.
And in terms of the art.
And in terms of the art.
Very much.
Because, yes, you're right, because it's very self-indulgent.
Yeah.
And it becomes an excuse for all kinds of
Whatever
things.
stays in Vegas, Hollywood style.
Yeah, exactly.
Happens in Vegas.
But they find a justification for it within this philosophy. This is where it begins. In Smash, a show which, as I say, I've become to like more and more, the director is living with Meg Hilty, who you'll see in this clip. They're everything but married. And then she discovers he's sleeping with the star, Uma Thurman. She confronts him. Take a look.
So, were you just not going to say goodbye? 3 days ago, you told me you loved me, and that was the last time you spoke to me. Other than to say, places please, and stay out of my way, I'm about to have sex with a movie star.
Ivy, Rebecca needs my attention, and I'm giving it to her. Is there any other approach?
Well, we all need attention.
Well, no, but he goes on to say, and can you think of a better way? And we're all professionals.
Right.
Like, I'm a professional. It's part of your job. I mean, it's part of my job. He said, part of my job.
In other words, utter BS. Yeah.
All right. But now, here, I'm coming up to a question for you, actually. That's the candy wrapped, okay? Right. Now let's get down to the real truth of what people think it is in action. This is from a much lauded show, Entourage. It's a series of clips, just to give you a flavor of their view of an artist's life.
Right. I'm calling.
I bet my left nut he could not close Anna Faris.
Oh, gee, I bet I'd love to win.
What happened?
She gave me the wrong number.
Don't feel too bad, eh? You're just a regular person, a civilian.
You're so hot. We haven't before, have we?
No, not yet.
Well, pencil me in for later.
Vincent, I never joke about my wife's happiness. What she wants, I get for her. Now, if you want this check to clear, you will go upstairs and you will my wife like the superstar you are, while I stay down here and play billiards with your friends, huh?
Now, I gotta ask you, how is it, what cognitive dissonance allows people to present themselves that way to the world and still think that they have a moral high ground?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not really cognitive dissonance because the media applauds them. And the media says, oh, that's the way it is, maybe the way it has to be. They are the loyal claque for this kind of idiocy, not idiocy, disgusting behavior. And so it's like a circle. It's a vicious circle that these people live in, and then the media projects it out to the poor people out in the masses. One of the things that's interesting to me about Entourage is that it's largely about agents and people like that. It's not about artists. It's about people who viperously prey on artists, which is just kind of interesting. They're even worse than the artists, but you know, they're both bad.
But you know, it's one thing when he's saying, well, listen, I'm doing this. He says, in fact, that clip goes on with Kevin Dillon saying, if you're just a civilian, if it was me, you know, I would have had her in bed by now. And I think it's interesting. And so one thing when they're talking about sexual behavior, which is for them and not for other people, you know, don't do as I do. But when it carries over into politics, where they are free to live their life sybaritically and then demand the rest of us live penurious lives in order to pay for this society, it's the beginning of what's wrong. It's this notion that somehow, because they're in movies, they answer to a different moral code, and people should be aware of that and should resist it. That's my point. I'm on a soapbox. I'm on a soapbox.
I think it's a good point. I'm with you. And I think it's very interesting that we're talking about the Dictator today. Because the
Anna
Dictator...
Faris is the girl in the clip.
For one thing. Beyond that, she's the star of the Dictator. But the other thing is, I think, and I want to hear what you think about the Dictator. But I think there's a lot about the Dictator that relates to this issue in a strange way. But anyway, how's your...
I got to go first.
Go first.
If I show you yours, will you show me yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I went through a lot of things. I changed, of course, the movie. At first I thought, well, it's a kind of a childish thing. And then I thought, maybe it's sort of a Marx Brothers for our time. Zany, crazy,
well, there's a lot
over
of
the edge. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I thought maybe it's Marx Brothery. Until he gets up and makes his speech, in which he basically describes the United States as a dictatorship. There was a dig at Cheney before that, which I felt framed that, because Gloria felt he was making fun of liberals or being a wise ass. I said, no, I think the Cheney remark frames what he says. And suddenly he's giving Obama talking points. And I thought, well, the one great thing about the Marx Brothers is they drew the line between zaniness and serious political thought, which was absent from this film. When it was being silly, it was good silly. When it tried to become meaningful, it became silly meaningful. Relates to what we were talking about before, in terms of sexual behavior and what I expect from you.
That speech that you're referring to, I think it really was key in the movie. And it's very late in the movie, as you know. It's right
at the very end.
It's right at the very end. He gives sort of in an ironic context, but not really, Obama talking points. Now, here's my thinking about this. And I like Borat a lot. The man has great talent. And I laughed a lot of gags in this movie. They're great scenes. The scene on the helicopter is funny. There's a lot of good shtick in it. And not as good as Marx Brothers shtick. It won't last like that did, but it's good shtick. I think there's a confusion among a certain class of people now that this movie reflects. And that is that part of them wants to agree with us, but they can't do it. They can't go over the edge into it. They can't finally take a stand that contradicts what they believed all their lives. And this movie has that kind of schizophrenia built into it. And it's reflected perfectly in that final speech where all of a sudden he's giving these Obama talking points. And then in the credits, he's killing the leading lady because she's Jewish, which is much more to the point.
Much more to the point.
And of course, there are 4 writers on this thing, and it's much more of a Hollywood production than his earlier movies. It's much more scripted. There's none of the interesting shtick with people who are real mixing in with it, which made kind of Sacha Baron Cohen an original on some levels. This is more of an old-fashioned comedy. Anyway, that's my take.
You said something kind of interesting. Because one thing I do think about with if your name is Sacha Cohen, chances are you're Jewish, and chances are the world knows you're Jewish. And I heard him speak. He did a comic thing at the Israel Film Festival. It was very funny. And clearly cares very much about the fate of Israel and so on. And he does, as we say he always should do, separate his own personal views from his work. He wants, I think, to be on our side, as you put it. Yeah. But he knows there'd be a price to pay for that.
Exactly.
Whether he knows it consciously and makes a decision, or whether intuitively he knows at this point I must go with the flow of the other 4 writers. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think he's acting against form, because when he is making fun of North African, of the Maghreb and its behavior, of those people, of Islam, and all of those things, it's right on. It's pitch perfect. It's funny and wonderful.
And then he has
as
to
soon
do
as he
the other.
starts doing left-wing American humor, jabbing at conservatives,
it
comes
too.
apart. So that would support your case.
Yeah, it's a schizophrenic movie, and it's done probably by a man who's a little schizophrenic himself.
The popular culture is just ripe to be taken back by people who care about this country. It's like this Jody Cannon, the New York Times reporter, said in horror of Romney, well, he won't rule with a Bible on his desk, but he prays, and he believes in American exceptionalism. Well, I believe in American exceptionalism, and I even pray. I do think It's very interesting. I hadn't thought about it before now. Obviously, the second week in a row, you make me think about things. I don't have time to think. I'm writing. I really do. The popular culture is ready to be plucked and taken back.
It's our job, kid.
It's our job, and this film is evidence, because there is two films in it. No doubt.
Two films for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what's happening in the popular culture with our buddy Matt Atchity, who's going to tell us over at Rotten Tomatoes what's coming up. Take it away, Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt Atchity, editor-in-chief of RottenTomatoes.com, and I'm here to talk about movies that are going to be in theaters this weekend. First of all, Men in Black 3, the long-awaited sequel. I know I was really waiting for this one. We've got Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones returns. This time, Will Smith goes back in time to meet a young Agent K, played by Josh Brolin, who is doing a pitch-perfect imitation of Tommy Lee Jones. It's actually pretty funny. The movie's kind of uneven. It's only about 65% on the tomato meter. Kind of amusing, but if you're a newcomer to the franchise or not a big fan of this franchise, you're not going to find a lot to like here. But, you know, it's for the most part inoffensive and kind of fun to watch. You know, not groundbreaking, but not bad. The other wide release this weekend is Chernobyl Diaries, which is from the producers of Paranormal Activity. This movie, unfortunately, has not screened for critics. It's a horror movie set in Chernobyl and has to do with some of the awful meltdown that happened there. I haven't seen the movie. No critics have. They've been kept from seeing this film early. Never a good sign. Probably not going to do very well on the tomato meter. But if you're a hardcore horror fan or just can't get enough of the Paranormal Activity movies, you might want to go see this. One other movie you might be able to catch, it's in limited release, is Moonrise Kingdom. This is the latest from Wes Anderson, who brought us Rushmore and the Royal Tenenbaums. Fans of his are going to be really excited about this movie, and critics have really liked it so far. It's 97% on the tomato meter and has made a really big splash at the Cannes Film Festival. Like I said, it's in the art houses this weekend. It's going to expand to the rest of the country, but if you're lucky enough to be in a large city like Los Angeles or New York or San Francisco, you might be able to find this, and definitely worth checking out. Once again, I'm Matt Atchity, editor-in-chief of RottenTomatoes.com. Make sure to check back on the site to see what the critics are saying about anything you want to go see in the theaters.
Thanks, Matt. Well, Lionel, more popular culture coming up.
Next week.
And more commentary from us.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
Indispensable. I can't wait to hear it.
Right. It's Roger Simon.
And Lionel Chetwynd.
In Poliwood.